spirit, the spirit of life, the spirit of this. To love tenderly and to walk humbly on this your sacred earth. Bless the non-violent, for they will inherit the earth. Amen.
We have Christian presence here, Muslim present, and a prayer is being raised for all those who have paid the ultimate price for defending nature, for defending other lives. We want to live. We want the harm being done to stop the harm. Harm that started, that begun in the region of the Americas 500 years ago. The mass massacre of indigenous people still continues today with our current political and economic setup. Someone sounding the maracas. Para los que están aquí sintonizándonos, estamos en la Embajada de Brasil, en Londres, donde activistas de la rebelión contra la extinción están alzando su voz en señal de solidaridad con todas las muertes que se están dando por nuestro sistema económico y político extractivista. Amigos de Latinoamérica, ustedes bien pueden contestar esto de primera mano, sabiendo cómo las potencias del norte han capturado nuestros intereses y con los tratados de supuesto libre comercio se enfocan en darle a empresas extranjeras, no sé ni cómo describirlo, la oportunidad de destruir los recursos naturales de los cuales dependemos para la vida, para lucrar. Se da con la minería a cielo abierto, que es sumamente dañina. Se da con la deforestación para crecer alimentos, muchos de ellos para alimentar animales que luego serán consumidos por todos nosotros. Y todos somos cómplices en este sistema. Y hay quienes, al darse cuenta de eso, al percatarse de ello, levantan su voz para decir: no más, no queremos ver ni una gota de sangre indígena más. No solamente sucede en Brasil, sucede en Chile. El Club de Chicago principios de la década de los 80 y luego en los 90 comenzó a privatizar muchos de los recursos. Sucedió en Nicaragua, en Guatemala, en toda Latinoamérica, el imperio extractivista de Europa, Estados Unidos. So if you're just joining us, welcome here on a beautiful day in London, where the police has been overstepping their powers. This afternoon, people were having an example of what a citizens' assembly could be like. They were exercising their democratic right in Trafalgar Square, and people were social distancing. They were in small groups, because that's what happens in a people's assembly. Breakout groups where you have the opportunity to converse with others about certain point views, and they just started to disperse the crowd and make arrests. And isn't that a huge irony that people were exercising what could be considered as the future of a democracy, an upgrade of democracy where people have true representation that is totally participatory, and the police, under the orders of the government, or who knows who, broke that up. We also saw that in the lighthouse Greta. I don't know what happened, where the police did the same. And we also saw it in Lambeth Bridge, where rebels had joined a cycle ride. And only 6 rebels had locked on and blocked the road, and over 200 were arrested. So we have to consider and question the systems that are in place. Lots of the food that we have at the supermarkets comes from extractive practices. And if we're in the midst of a climate and ecological crisis, the government, why do they allow this? So I'm gonna go find what would you guys like to ask questions if you want to? So we have food. Come down and join the protest. The Hare Krishna is giving free meals for everyone. It's so important to fuel the rebellion in that way, to keep people fed with high spirits. Hey, how are you? How are you guys doing?
Hello. Right.
How has been the rebellion for you guys?
Unexpected to see.
Do you want to come over here?
Yeah, it's been a really powerful rebellion. We've seen lots of communities out on the streets and movements of movements. We've seen really harsh and rather questionable behavior from the police.
Let's get a bit further from the noise.
Yeah.
Very happy music going on.
Very happy music going on. Yeah,
So I saw the other day that the lawyers did some actions.
yes.
So it's sort of, that's a really beautiful thing. I'm seeing over there Muslims and Christians raising prayers.
The Faith Bridge was out.
What did the Faith Bridge do? Because I haven't seen that much of the Faith Bridge.
They are stationed at Parliament Square. They're doing a 24/7 prayer vigil with the Buddhists, the Muslims, the Christians, the Jews. Extra Jews is doing lots of different events and talks. The families are out, the grandparents are out, the scientists, the lawyers, they're all beautiful.
So it's about bringing people from all different walks of life.
Yeah, and they're all here. The mothers, the fathers, the teachers.
So the Faith Bridge, despite, is it that people aren't supposed to be in Parliament Square after a certain hour, but people are going there to pray then?
They do go and pray. I think there are a few hours during the night when they go to St. George's Church, just for the respite. But their prayer continues.
And can you comment on the police, on the policing of the last days? Is it something that you sort of expected? I mean, for me, it's been almost that. For me, I mean, I don't know, but it seems that they are overstepping as a tactic. They know they're overstepping.
There are a few things happening. First of all, they believe that everyone is stupid. Whilst the police, I respect they're doing their job. There are certain laws.
They have their orders and everything, but
some of them, you know, a lot of it I don't agree with the institution, but the individual who is supporting safety on the streets, I respect that. What I do not respect and I will not accept is to be treated rudely, aggressively, and all these things have been happening. Random arrests, and it's extremely concerning.
Random illegal arrests. Let's say what it is.
Yes.
It seems like an erosion of democracy.
Very much so. And there is,
It's
in
scary.
some of the police officers, a real delight in doing so, and that's like a sadistic ugliness.
Yeah.
And do you think those are, as someone famously says, bad apples, or is it systemic?
I think it's systemic.
The number of times we've seen it the last few days, it seems it's got to be systemic. There is something that...
I mean, we are a non-violent, very, very peaceful movement, and I felt being really put onto the edges because of extremely unacceptable behavior by the police. And I have my rights in this country, and I feel that they have been infringed a number of times, and it's really concerning. I really call the lawyers out there. This is really is unacceptable, and it's scary.
It is scary because it's not even that right here, differently than in Brazil, that they're experiencing the effects of climate.
We see groups of thugs at the HS2 camps. What is this? Where Britain...
Thugs with sledgehammers that are preventing people from having food and water.
We are in the United Kingdom. I mean, there are a lot of things wrong, but when have we had bands of thugs operating for private companies, beating people, putting their life at risk? My friend was cut off, being on a rope. She was cut off. She could have broken her neck.
I saw that. She fell like a good 20 feet, a good 4 or 5 meters.
People were injured, and these are thugs. That's it. And the police is behaving in ways that, unfortunately...
I haven't had time to read the news, but is this being reported in the news?
I have not seen that at all. Have you?
About HS2 or about the police violence?
About the police violence, and
I haven't seen it being reported, no.
so maybe it is something that, you know, we had because of the tone of our skin, or because the numbers, the privilege to not experience until October, but it's something that many people experience in their day-to-day lives.
Yeah, for sure. And we've seen a group of 30 police officers beat a person of color up just 3 hours ago in a different protest in the middle of the daylight.
Singled out the one black person
and
ambushed him, chased him down,
and
beat
kettled
him.
that person so that there would be no video footage of it. I mean, all these things are happening late daylight now in London.
And what is the root cause, do you think, of this happening? I mean, we were at Tufton Street the other day, and I think George Monbiot did a really good job at explaining what happens when you try to confront power that doesn't want to let the status quo
For sure.
change. I mean, I do rack my brain because I've seen how abundant nature is. I'm from Central America, and I've seen that we can live in balance with nature and in harmony and enjoy the little things in life and be happy. It seems that very few are taking so much. But why does that happen?
I think there's something really scary afoot here. There's a real, I mean, we're talking a lot about tipping points. There's definitely something happening here that's scary. The new normal is, I mean, we see this in peaceful protests, how police is acting out, and there has been a shift, very, very tangible shift. And what was said at the Writers' Rebel event on Tufton Street was, you know, language gets distorted to such an extent, amputated, and behavior changes in such a way that the individual citizen no longer notices these changes. It becomes the norm.
Because everyone's busy in their day-to-day life, in the rat race that we've
So
been
am
put to.
I've got children, all of it, you know.
And it's almost that we've been, indoctrinated in our schooling system to just be consumers,
Don't
to
get me
try to get
started.
happiness and purpose through buying and accumulating things.
Yeah.
And that's what we're aiming for. And it seems like the deterioration of our own civil liberties just happens gradually, little by little,
Oh, yeah.
almost like the frog in the hot water that doesn't notice that he's being boiled. But what is scary right now is that the things that are happening, obviously, with the climate ecological crisis, we're not only talking about liberation and freedom anymore, but our own survival. And guys, I'm gonna go over there because there's some speeches.
We're here in front of the Brazilian embassy, and like one of the first XR actions was here, and I'm like so glad that we're back. But it's terrifying of what's happening in the Amazon. The way that Bolsonaro is just changing laws, decriminalizing violence against indigenous people. It's horrific what's going on down there. The land is being intentionally burnt, the forest is being intentionally burnt so that the miners and the other extraction industries can come in, steal the land, kill the indigenous people, the people that are the stewards of these forests. These are they are the defenders, they're the immune system of the forest in many ways.
And they have the knowledge of how to live in balance with nature, which
is sacred knowledge, which we all so desperately need, because we don't know how to do that here. We are so out of whack. We need them. We don't need them killed. We need them to be alive. Like, our survival depends on their survival. And the Amazon itself, the forest, it's getting to its tipping point. It isn't just a forest that continues to exist. It requires a certain number of trees to pull the water from the ocean into the forest to rain, to continue the cycle of the
To be a
rainforest,
rainforest.
right? The Amazon, the biggest river in the world, relies on the trees being there. When the trees are cut down, they won't suck the water anymore, which means that the entire forest could die within the next decade.
But it's not only the carbon that those trees absorb, but then from burning them, the carbon that they liberated. So it's a tipping point.
It's
for
a
sure.
tipping point, and that's a tipping point for like the entire planet. If the lungs of the Earth go and they spew all of that carbon into the atmosphere by being burnt and being desiccated, like there's not going to be human life.
And
we
people-
are at the tipping point, and we need
people
to do
being-
something
yeah.
really big right now.
So that's why we're on the streets, no? In nonviolent direct
yeah.
action, civil disobedience.
Yeah.
I remember seeing last year a fox who died on top of that scaffold. What do you call it? Scaffolding. It's not scaffolding. pointing lots of message because we don't want to see more indigenous life. I'm gonna go stream.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Against the Spanish colony, and she was captured and killed. All that time today. That's why we're marching today. That's why the Bolivian movements come out every year to march. Celebrate that we have a role. Nothing. We've been doing it for 500 years. We've been rebelling for 500 years. And the slavery is still going on. And you are the slaves as well. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Okay. We're going to follow the orders of our prime minister. We're going to walk back in our bubble. Okay? Amazon! 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 We will back! And we will be millions!
Hello, guys. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, sure. Was it live right now?
Yeah.
All right.
We got Facebook UK Global.
All right. Welcome to the
Stage is
live
all
stream,
yours.
everyone. Amazon's Rebellion launching today here in the UK. A wonderful new group for our Movement of Movements coalition. One of the things that's really strong about Extinction Rebellion is that it inspires action from everyone. We want to empower people from different communities, from different groups, to realise their strength in non-violent direct action. And so I'm honoured and inspired to have people here today from the Colombian community, from the Brazilian community, organising an action to protect indigenous lives and to stop the ecocide that's currently happening in Brazil. There's a building right here behind us, the Brazilian embassy, that has blood in its hands in terms of this. We wanted to highlight that here today with a beautiful march, but also to celebrate the life, the biodiversity, the wildlife that exists in the Amazon. The UK, the government, also has blood in its hands for what's been happening right now. Right now, after the Brexit, after leaving from the European Union, the government wants to organise a trade deal with Brazil, a free trade deal that will mean unregulated destruction of the Amazon, which is already losing a football pitch worth of rainforest every single minute. That's the kind of destruction and ecocide we're looking at, and it's beautiful to see so many rebels here today that are inspired by this new movement, Amazon Rebellion, and willing to take action.
So what's that? 60 times 24 in a day, football pitches.
Yeah, that's a lot of rainforest. It's something like 19,000 square kilometers per year.
Right.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So the people who are watching today, across the world, my message to you is Amazon's Rebellion. If you're inspired by the action today, if what you've seen goes to you, yes, my country needs to be calling out this injustice, then please set up an Amazon's Rebellion group in your area, in your country, and involve the diaspora of these communities and unite against these injustices.
And we got just on the so we've got the Amazons being destroyed, but it's also the fact is that the indigenous people of the Amazonia are getting butchered and killed.
Yeah.
So Bolsonaro's come in and he got rid of environmental protection laws, and they're getting slaughtered, and they're the frontline protectors.
Absolutely.
And if the Amazon goes, we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like
the Amazon is the lungs of our world. If we do not have it, we can't breathe. We will die.
yeah.
It sequesters so much carbon and homes so much biodiversity that without it, we will start to die.
Yeah.
And that's not long down the line.
Yeah.
That's really
I've lived
true.
in the jungle, and when you see just only one tree, the amount of animals it has, just one single tree, the amount of birds, the amount of plants, and when you consider that a whole football field is getting slaughtered every single minute, the amount of death. So I'm really happy that Extinction Rebellion here in the UK is saying stop the harm.
Yeah.
So what do you know about the trade deals going on between the UK government and Mercosur?
Well, basically, it seems to be, a continuation of the free trade economics that doesn't protect, it doesn't stop the harm. It just says, okay, where's the most profit to be made? What can we mine next? What can we pillage next? Regardless of whose land it is or what the values are of the people who are there. So I think the thing for the UK to really consider is, does it want to be complicit? Does it want to have blood on its hands in these kind of trade deals? When we've got new appointments to the Department of Trade, such as Tony Abbott from Australia, the ex-Prime Minister, a climate denier who said that climate change was hocus pocus, I mean, where do you think we're going to go? You know, these things, they continue, and if we don't act, if we don't show the injustices that are central in this city of London, then we will die.
Here in the UK, there's a very important history on civil disobedience. We saw the suffragettes taken to the streets for the right to vote. And now Extinction Rebellion is taken to the streets for the right to live. Yeah. And obviously, the effects of a climate and ecological crisis, we're not feeling it as others are feeling it in Africa, in South America, in Indonesia. From my home country, that is Panama, I saw sea levels rising. I can see that in the next decades, loads of islands are going to disappear. The Kuna indigenous are going to be displaced. And I see that corporations from the global north are simply destroying for profit. And it makes really no sense. It's as if they think that there's no tomorrow, but there is a tomorrow, and it's going to be hell. So that's what I encourage everyone to do, to really consider that there's right now immense harm being done, not only to lots of species that we depend on, but to also other brothers and sisters. And it's being done by these countries, and the borders are being closed. Anyways, it seems that the police have gone away from the Brazilian embassy, and the Brazilian flag. We invite everyone, wherever you are, to raise awareness on these issues. In whichever way you can, use your privilege, because using your privilege is so important, and right now it's about stepping for all living things, stepping it up. So let me see if we can find someone else to talk to, and if not, we'll leave it for a day. Let me just ask over here. Hey guys, how are you? I'm streaming to Extinction Rebellion Global. Is it okay if I ask you guys some questions about why you're here?
I'm fine.
Yeah? How are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah. I'm good myself. You've been enjoying the rebellion?
Enjoying is a funny word, isn't it?
Someone asked me the same exact thing, and I responded like, well, it's been full on, quite tense. I can't just... Compared to, for example, the April Rebellion, that was really enjoyable, I would say.
Yeah, I think... Can I take this off? I'm quite far from
Yeah,
this, so
go
it should
for
be
it.
alright. It's easier to hear what I say because I'm not British, so sometimes people find it difficult to understand. I mean, I think what I'm enjoying is meeting the people I met only on Zoom for the past 4 or 5 months, right? So that's enjoyable, and it's great to be around like-minded people and learn on the ground and show solidarity, shoulder to shoulder, where actually things go bad and then things happen. So that's great. And obviously the bit I don't enjoy is that we have to be here because of the circumstances, right? Like no one enjoys that there is climate and ecological collapse. No one enjoys that indigenous people are being actually the victims of COVID-19, that they are being murdered, and the rainforest protectors are getting murdered and so forth. So that's why I'm here right now. Hello.
Have you been what's been your reaction to policing, if you have any comment on that?
Today was absolutely ridiculous. So I was walking from Parliament Square to Trafalgar Square, and one of my friends, who was only looking for exiled grandparents, got stopped and searched because she was wearing a white tracksuit, and they thought she was...
and is there sort of like a blanket ban or something that they can just stop and search anyone without any suspicion?
I have no idea, honestly, but I think it's just really ridiculous that obviously they're doing it as an intimidation tactic. That's very, very clear. So, like that happened earlier today, and then I walked up to Trafalgar Square for the Citizens' Assembly, and
different police officers came to us with different reasons. First they said we cannot be in groups over 30, which was understood, so we went into groups of 29.
Well, what happens in People's Assembly? You get in smaller groups.
Exactly.
And it's ironic. It's like people are almost practicing how to upgrade democracy.
Absolutely.
And then they get dispersed like, no, let's not do democracy.
No, exactly. I think this is a time for us where our only chance is to take power back to the people. And we are very clear of that in Extinction Rebellion, and we want to exercise that and learn that right here, right now. So we have a chance to overcome what's waiting for us. This social crisis that we're talking about is a reality. It's already happening. We can see with COVID-19, and it's only going to get worse. So this is essential for this country, for countries around the world, to know how to exercise local community democracy. And now the police is taking away this right and this opportunity from us, and therefore they take it away from themselves as well, because they are us, right? They are people. They live in this country as well. So I just spoke to one of the police officers when we were dispersed on Trafalgar Square, and I actually asked him to join us. I told him that I don't think we are very different. He took on a job. I took on a job. I'm not working right now. I'm here by choice, but he can make that same choice as well. And he can sit with us and we can talk about how are we going to turn this mess around for each and every one of us, including the police, and have a different kind of policing.
It's interesting that you brought up COVID, and we saw in many countries who put the economic interest of the few above the health and safety of the many ended up in tens of thousands of unnecessary death. And they acted, let's say, within weeks late. And we're talking about the climate and ecological crisis, which is an existential threat. Some scientists are, once we start saying 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees, if it's going to be 500 million, 1 billion people death, or 6 billion, we're talking about mass death. And the climate and ecological emergency bill was tabled, and then they said, oh, but 6 months later. And it's almost like a joke because Parliament declared the emergency. They haven't done anything about it really. And now that a whole array of organizations from different sectors of society has pushed the issue forward, they keep kicking it down the road. And it's very illogical that after experiencing a lockdown in which the concepts of what is an essential job, what is an essential transport, that things could be very different, that they just say, let's just go back to normal. Let's just go back to what we were doing before, and brought COVID, because COVID comes from destroying nature. Many scientists say that the next pandemic might come from Brazil, obviously from the rate of deforestation, the zoonotic diseases from coming in contact with other species that have had those viruses, evolved with those viruses, but now they're coming in contact with us humans.
That's exactly true.
I have kids, so I rebel for them, but I also rebel for the people because I'm from Panama, and I married a Brit, so I have the privilege to move around borders. But there's many people who don't have that privilege.
Where are you from?
Hungary.
Hungary.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned a lot of very important things, and I think one context of the way we talk about the climate and ecological emergency is to acknowledge the fact that it's no longer just a threat for many people around the world. This is already happening in the global south majorly, and it's happening to the 99% of the people, and we are being separated by all kind of tactics. We know that racism, patriarchy, sexism, these are all weapons that are used against people, and I don't think there is someone sitting up on top and intentionally doing these things, but this is within this system. This is deeply ingrained in the way that we operate in this country and in this world right now. Started thousands of years ago, even before, with colonization and so forth. So it's in our deepest systemic roots, and so that's the job that we have to do right now, is to overcome this, and not just have a different structure and a different way of talking about each other, but also have a deep cultural change. And there is this idea from, well, I should maybe say that I think the best person to articulate this would be, the best group would be XR-ISN, XR International Solidarity Network. They have been doing an amazing work in the past 2 years, and maybe even before, since XR started, and they have been talking about this from the very beginning. And I think we are only just waking up to this message that extinction and climate change and droughts and flooding and all of that comes with the climate crisis and social crisis is already happening around the world. And just because we can't directly see it right now here in the UK, especially middle class and above, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen around the world, and also doesn't happen to the working class here in the UK as well.
Well, here in the UK, I think about 50% of our food comes from overseas. So obviously a bread basket collapse could, you know. But I wanted to ask you about Indigenous Women's Day, because today is Indigenous Women's Day. I saw on social media that APIB was going to have some events with Indigenous women leaders, but I mean, I'm a man, so I'm asking you as a woman, would you tell me a little bit more about that?
I think I'm probably not the best person to talk about Indigenous women. I was born in Hungary, and it is a country in Central
So
Europe.
we should tune in into APIB tonight.
Exactly. I think what I would suggest as a person who is not an Indigenous person or has no direct connection is to not try to interpret what they say, but go and listen to them directly. So if there is any opportunity to listen to women who come from Indigenous groups or what's the word? Groups. Listen to them directly and don't filter it through someone who doesn't understand. And I think that's the way to learn, is to
go to the source and
be humble.
Their voices.
Exactly, and elevate those voices. So if you have a chance to put someone forward who can talk about their experiences, and that is our job, and that is the way to use our privilege. That's why I had this megaphone, I passed it around. I just gave it to this gentleman.
And your learning experiences about all these topics, what's been your journey, or how have you been learning about, you know, these systems of oppression, of patriarchy, sexism? Is it with your involvement with Extinction Rebellion? I see you got an Animal Rebellion badge.
So I think my journey started over 4 years ago when I first went vegan. Actually, that was the first time I really looked into what happens. You know, it's one form of oppression, and it's easy to understand because everybody cares about animals. They're innocent, so feeling their pain is really easy to tune in with. While with women, sometimes we have some kind of a distance, and it just seems like there is more of a barrier to understand them. But then obviously, once you open Pandora's box, it just starts to flow at you. So then I got the opportunity to learn through Extinction Rebellion, and then obviously Animal Rebellion, which opened up many other doors for me. And through XR I got in touch with XR Muslims, for example, XR-ISN, International Solidarity Network, Global Justice Rebellion, and a lot of really amazing groups who talk about their own experiences. So I think this is still a learning journey for me and many people in the movement. It never ends, and I think that's the necessary approach, is that we never know everything, and we really need everybody and everybody's experience to be heard, so we can take meaningful action and not only recreate the same structure, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so I really like that you're here as part of the Animal Rebellion. For it's a very powerful idea, this idea of a movement of movements, because obviously there's some things that XR and Animal Rebellion aren't aligned in, but there's loads of things that there is full alignment. So when you're able to say and sit down, like, we agree on these things, let's work on them, because together we are more powerful. And the rest, you know, I guess it's up to a citizen assembly. And Animal Rebellion also talks a lot about system change, I would imagine.
Absolutely. So we all come from this perspective that we need the system to change. And we talk particularly about food systems because we recognize that we have an unsustainable and unfair global food system right now, which is not fair to animals, it's not fair to humans around the world, it's not fair to the future generations, and not to us either. So it's really messed up. I don't want to say the F word, but it's really messed up, and it's everybody's interest to change it. And we know that there are alternate options. this, because we have lived in this planet for a long time. We have different kind of ways to do agriculture and to grow food and feed everybody. But to be able to do that, we need specific people who work for this, and that's what Extinction Rebellion does. We highlight the effect of animal farming constantly, and also we know it's linked to COVID-19, because as you just said before, pandemics and HIV, AIDS, COVID-19,
Ebola, they all came from destroying nature.
Exactly. These zoonotic diseases, and they come because of the way we interact with nature. And so that is also one of our key messages right now, is that we cannot avoid future pandemics unless we address animal culture and fishing as a whole. So tomorrow is actually a big joint march, the Ocean March. So that's going to be Extinction Rebellion and Rebellion and like everybody else, a big movement of movements, because everybody's interest is to keep our oceans diverse and healthy.
And I think it's important to say that individual change is important, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
There needs to be system change. We can. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if you want to say anything in your own language back home to people. Maybe to some rebels in Hungary.
Oh, it's so difficult. I've been speaking English for so long now. So this is in Hungarian. Okay. Sziasztok! Remélem, hogy mindenki jól van, és remélem, hogy ti is aktívan részt vesznek ebben a felkelésben, hogy úgy mondjam, és mindenkinek sok sikert és kitartást és erőt kívánok ahhoz, hogy ezt együtt folytassuk, akárhol is vagyunk a világban. Sziasztok!
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Okay, see you around. So, everyone, we are here outside of the Brazilian embassy, and we're gonna sign off. Thank you for joining the live stream, and hope to see you on the streets, because hope lies in the streets, people. It is time to rebel for life.